When I woke up that morning, I, like everyone who was going to the Capitol that day, was thrilled that it was the end of the session. We were all exhausted. It had been particularly grueling because the budget was so hard and because we'd been through redistricting, and everyone was tired and wanted to go home. But when I got to the Capitol that day, a few of us in our Democratic caucus were called over to the House to meet with some of our colleagues on the House side. And they said, look, we don't have the power, obviously, over here to stop this, but if you can help us stop it and give us another whack at it, we believe that in a special session, we can make something happen on school finance. And I looked at them, and I couldn't help but have tremendous respect, really, because here we had these 49 Democrats who all session long had been fighting as though they could make a difference. Who refused to back down in the face of their dwindling vote in terms of the number of people there in the House. And they had just been fighting and fighting with so much integrity and so much truth that they were operating from. I felt like we owed it to them. We had the power in the Senate, and the Republicans had made a terrible strategic error in spite of the fact that they had the vast majority of members in the House and majority of members in the Senate, in spite of the fact that they lifted the 2/3 rule several times during the regular session when it was convenient for them to do so. They had an opportunity to pass this bill weeks prior, and they couldn't get their own stuff together to make that happen, and they left the opportunity there. And as I reflected on it through the afternoon, and thought about an opportunity finally for school to be over, for teachers to be in the Capitol and parents to be in the Capitol and to be expressing their opinions about the decisions that were being made there, that we really owed them the opportunity to have the floor, to have the microphone for a change, and to be a part of the consideration in the process. And after several meetings with my Senate Democratic colleagues, and I'll tell you, everyone didn't have a warm and fuzzy feeling about doing that. Ultimately, we came out of our last meeting that afternoon unanimous in our decision that though we didn't all agree it was something we all wanted, we would all stand behind it and be unanimous in our support of going into a special session to try to fix public school funding. And
so how did it come out that you were going to be the one? Were you drafted?
I think I was the only one who was willing to do it at the end of the day.
A volunteer. I don't know if anybody's ever pointed, this was such a big session for following the legislature on Twitter, and I don't know if anybody's ever gone back as it was leaking out and people were speculating about whether you were going to do it or not. I mean, people were tweeting about your shoes, whether you were wearing shoes for standing.
Right. As you can see, I have my typical shoes on right now.
No filibuster today?
No filibuster today, but when I came in that night, I did have flat shoes on. I think it was the very first time I'd ever worn flat shoes on the Senate floor.
I wish I could remember offhand who it was. One of the reporters, and it was one of the female reporters, said, I'll bet she's going to do it. She's wearing flats. Turned out to be right. In retrospect, how do you think that worked out? I mean, do you have any regrets about that?
I don't have regrets. One of the things that was improved dramatically in the school funding bill during the special session was we took out essentially what had been the permanent placement of that funding solution. That was the thing that I was most upset about with the school funding bill. It wasn't that we were going to do a terrible thing for a temporary period of time until we could find a better way to do it, or until the economy came back, until we could resolve the structural deficit issues. Instead of dealing with this $10 billion structural shortfall that we have every 2 years because we're under collecting for public school funding, we rewrote the formula. We said, rather than recognizing that we have this obligation and figuring out a way to meet it, we're going to rewrite the obligation. And by rewriting it, we'll never, ever, ever have the need to come back with a different solution. And that's what happened in that funding formula. there were some very important provisions of it, not just the numbers that were changed on how much we were going to owe school districts, but the process by which we were going to go forward and being able to change that in the future essentially had assured that it was going to become a permanent solution to school funding, a permanent underfunding. And that piece of it got dramatically improved in the special session, and honestly owe a tremendous gratitude to Diane Patrick, Republican House member, who really fought for that over on the House floor and was able to achieve that.